Hello, my dears. Welcome to my channel. Today's talk is about mindfulness and trauma. Mindfulness, we're going to speak about it as the second step to a full recovery from the claws of a traumatic experience. After having accepted and opened up to our traumatic reality, all we need to do right now is to be mindful of both our emotions and thoughts and our physical sensations. As shown in research, the engines of post-traumatic reactions are located in the emotional brain. But what does that mean? It means basically that our executive or rational brain takes a step back in favor of our emotional or reactionary brain. This means that we start dealing with life situations from our emotions which have been distorted after the traumatic experience or by the traumatic experience. We start functioning from a place of rigidity, of rage and defensiveness. So the fundamental issue in resolving traumatic stress is to restore the proper balance between the rational and emotional brains, as suggested by the psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk in his book The Body Keeps the Score. But the question is, does understanding why we feel a certain way change how we feel? Not necessarily, but at least mindfulness and understanding will definitely help you control intense reactions, such as, for example, assaulting your boss because they remind you of someone who was violent to you, and such as compulsive drinking and eating, etc. When you consciously know the origin of why you are engaging in some destructive behavior, it will help you pull the brakes and look for a healthier outlet. Now, this has been proven. Mindfulness actually proved to go a long way in reducing post-traumatic symptoms and boosting the quality of life for traumatized individuals. In fact, there are two areas where mindfulness is needed: the emotional, psychological area and the physical area. Being aware of your thoughts and where they are coming from will help you gain a distance from them, especially when they are thoughts that tell you a negative story about yourself and your reality. Thoughts such as, "It was partly my fault that so and so happened," "I am fundamentally a bad person," or "I am sad and useless and a burden to my surroundings and community," or actually any other thought that weighs heavily on your well-being. Being conscious about the reason behind such thoughts is very important in how fast you can counter them and in your ability to recognize them as PTSD symptoms and not as a truth. Right? And this part is very important in building your self-image after a post-traumatic experience. So being mindful of your thoughts means that you can actively engage in shifting them. It will be easier for you to be deliberately gentle with yourself, to tell yourself positive things, right? If we want to wait for someone else to tell us that we matter, that we are important, that we have a role to play and a voice to deliver, then we can be waiting a long, long time. But when we realize that healing is our responsibility, that we have to do this ourselves and for ourselves, the wheel starts turning. And never think you are not strong enough or that you can't do it. I know you can. Observe the voice that is telling you negative and demoralizing things. Recognize that voice. Recognize where it's coming from. If you see that it's coming from the past, particularly from that traumatic thing that happened to you, then take a deep breath and say to yourself, "My past does not have a say in my present and in my future. I can't decide my past, but I can decide the future." Recognize sensations and thoughts that come from the past, then let them slowly pass through. Don't hold on to them, just let them go. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux have shown that the only way we can consciously access the emotional brain is through self-awareness, what we technically call introspection or looking inside. Because the conscious part of our brain has a tendency to focus on what's outside, on other people, on other tasks. And so self-awareness is not a second nature to us. It's something that we have to nurture. It's something that we have to cultivate. So it's important for us to feel in control of ourselves. Self-management is very empowering. Never underestimate it. It gives you the kind of power that you need to know you can decide how your life will turn out. Even if your past circumstances showed you otherwise, even if your past suggests that you have no control over what can happen to you, that a bad thing can actually crash into your life without you realizing it. But when we meditate on our thoughts, when we meditate on our ability to create our present, then we regain that kind of control that was robbed from us, that kind of mastery that took a step back in our lives because of trauma. When the emotional brain is hyper aroused, as is the case for most people who suffer from PTSD, we start feeling bodily sensations like changes in breathing, tightness in the chest, stomach pain, insomnia, etc. Now, if we observe how these sensations are tied to certain memories or certain situations that remind us of our traumatic past, what we call triggers, it will be easier for us to treat those physical symptoms as well. One very important and unconventional way, actually, of liberating the body from the crushing sensations of trauma is by movement, rhythm, chanting, and dancing. In the book that I quoted earlier, The Body Keeps the Score, the psychiatrist describes how in group therapy, a group of women who've been raped, the air was very heavy. People's bodies were collapsed and defeated, and the vibe was starting to become overwhelming even for counselors. Then, all of a sudden, a woman starts to hum something. She starts, humming. Then slowly a rhythm emerged, and women started chanting along and getting up to dance. Your body is your gateway to experiencing life. You have to understand that what trauma does is take away your body's rhythm, reduce its sensations, reduce its reactions, its positive sensations, reduce its reactions to music, to rhythm, etc. What trauma does is keep it in an invisible box, unable to move along because of emotions such as guilt, shame, etc. Dancing means moving, stretching that box, regaining ownership of your own limbs, your hips, your waist, your whole body. Put a bunch of people in a room and play sad music for an hour. You'll see that even the most active of them all will emerge calm and still. But if you put them in a room and play hype music, for example, someone is bound to get up dancing. This is how much power music has over us. And this is how much power our body has over our mood. Because you want to be happy, you start dancing, right? And it works. Your mood shifts, changes, is instantly better. And so, as traumatized people, we have to know the kind of music, the kind of rhythm that we need to hear in order to ignite that spark of life back into our bodies. Yoga also proved to help tremendously in relieving symptoms related to trauma. What I want to say is your mind can lie to you. Don't believe anything it tells you. Don't believe negative thoughts about yourself. Be mindful of your thoughts and try to counter them with positive ones that will lift up your spirits. Because what we think we usually become. Because words have a tremendous impact on our reality. First, on our psychology, and second, on our reality. You might have had a bad past, but your present is yours. I guarantee. So you can dance. Who's gonna stop you? And I also want to remind you how amazing you are. And just in case you didn't hear this today, survivors are beautiful. Survivors are heroes. And yes, you can change the world.